There's an old movie line that says, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. And for years, people heard that like a cute reminder. Slow down, enjoy life, take in the moment. But I don't hear it cute anymore. I hear it like a warning, like a red flag, because some of you are moving too fast. And not because you are building a life, but because you are trying to afford one. Fast work, fast pay, fast to fix, fast to cover, fast to catch up, fast to answer, fast to survive, fast to make sure nothing falls apart. And somewhere inside all that movement, you stopped asking if you were actually living. You started measuring life by what you got paid, what got handled, what got covered, what got crossed off, what didn't collapse. And I understand that responsibility is real, bills are real, pressure is real. But here's the question: when did survival become the whole story? When did keeping up replace building? When did maintenance become your identity? When did you stop dreaming and only start calculating? Because some of you are not building a life anymore. You are just trying to afford one. And today, we are going to deal with that. Welcome back to the Eminence Legacy Podcast. I'm Jose Luis Cadena, and this is the Sovereignty Series. Stop letting the world lead you. In part one, we said the world can get loud, but it does not get to lead you. In part two, we dealt with reaction. If everything can trigger you, anything can lead you. In part three, we dealt with appetite. You keep calling it entertainment, but something is studying your appetite. In part four, we dealt with fake connection. Everybody can reach you, anybody has access to you, but nobody really knows where you are bleeding. And today, we deal with survival, not money only, not bills only, not pressure only. We are going after the quiet thing that happens when survival becomes the ruler of your life. Because, yes, life is expensive. Yes, responsibility is heavy. Yes, people are carrying more than they say. But legacy builders do not stop at naming the pressure. We name the pressure. We refuse the excuse. We own the response. And we make the move. So let's talk about it. The real problem is not that you have responsibilities. Responsible people carry things. That is part of maturity. The real problem is when responsibility becomes so loud that purpose gets quiet. The real problem is when the bills become the only language your life understands. The real problem is when your week becomes a cycle of work, pay, recover, stress, repeat. Work, pay, recover, stress, repeat. It just becomes a mechanical wheel that runs you into the ground while everyone applauds how hard you drive. And then one day you look up and you are not building, you are maintaining, you are not leading, you are reacting, you are not dreaming, you are calculating, you are not becoming, you are surviving. And because survival feels responsible, nobody ever questions it. People actually respect it. People applaud it. People say, that's life. Welcome to adulthood. You gotta do what you gotta do. And sometimes that's true. But sometimes doing what you gotta do just becomes the excuse for never asking what you were called to build. That is where it gets dangerous because survival can look noble while quietly burying your vision. Survival can make you feel productive while slowly starving your purpose. Survival can keep your bills paid and still leave your soul bankrupt. That is a real issue. Let me say this clean. Pressure is real, but pressure is not permission to disappear. Bills are real, but bills are not your identity. Responsibility is real, but responsibility is not an excuse to abandon your purpose. Survival may be your strategy, but it cannot become your sovereign ruler because your inner throne is never empty. Something is always sitting on it. Fear can sit on it. Debit can sit on it. Pressure can sit on it. Survival can sit there. Exhaustion can sit there. The need to keep up can sit there. And if survival sits on the throne long enough, purpose becomes a visitor in your own life. You will only see it sometimes when you're inspired, when you're tired of the routine, when a podcast episode hits too close, when the house gets quiet, when you remember the dream. But then Monday comes, the bills come, the pressure comes, the schedule comes, and purpose gets pushed back into the corner. No, we're not having that. That cannot be your normal. Legacy builders do not deny survival, but they do not worship it either. Here is the first truth. Survival can be necessary, but it cannot become your identity. There are seasons where you have to survive. There are seasons where you have to tighten up. There are seasons where you have to work extra. There are seasons where you have to sacrifice. There are seasons where you have to carry what nobody else sees. I'm not going to disrespect that. But there's a difference between being in survival season and becoming a survival person. See, a survival season says, this is what I'm walking through. A survival identity says, this is all I am now. This is me. A survival season requires focus. A survival identity creates blindness. A survival season can teach discipline. A survival identity can kill vision. And some of you have been in survival for way too long. You have stopped recognizing when it started leading you. You do not ask, what am I building? You ask, what's due? You do not ask, what needs to change? You ask, what can I afford? You don't ask, what is God trying to do to form me? You ask, how do I make it through this week? And again, those questions matter, but they cannot be the only questions, because if survival is the only question, then purpose will always sound unrealistic. See, vision will always feel inconvenient. Growth will always seem expensive. Discipline will always feel like extra. And rest will always feel like something you have to earn after you almost break. That isn't a legacy. That is just an automated billing cycle with a pulse. Let me stop you right here. Some of you are not tired because you work hard. You're tired because your life has no room to mean anything beyond keeping up. That's different. You are not just exhausted from responsibility. You are exhausted from a life that keeps demanding payment, but rarely gives you purpose. You are exhausted from waking up, not to build, but to catch up. You are exhausted from moving, but not advancing. You always seem to be stuck in the same place. You are exhausted from paying for a life that you barely get to live. That line may hurt. Good, because some truth has to hurt before it heals. And let's not play games. Some of you have been using responsibility as a hiding place. You say, I don't have time right now. I'm too busy right now. I'm just trying to get stable right now. I'll focus on that later. I'll get serious after things calm down. But let's be real. What if the storm never stops? What if the bills keep coming until the day you die? Are you really going to wait for a permission slip from your debit to start living? Or are you going to learn how to build while the fires are still burning around you? That is the question. Responsibility is good, but responsibility without direction becomes a golden cage because you can be responsible and still be stuck. You can be dependable and still be drifting. You can pay everything on time and still be late to your own life. You can provide and still be disappearing. You can keep the lights on while something inside you keeps going darker and darker. That's the danger. People think responsibility automatically equals alignment. It does not. Responsibility is what you carry. Direction is where you are going. And if you carry responsibility without direction, you become strong enough to endure a life you were supposed to rebuild. That one matters because some people are proud of surviving things they were supposed to confront, proud of carrying things they were supposed to reorganize, proud of enduring patterns they were supposed to interrupt, proud of being dependable while quietly resenting everybody who depends on them. And I'm not saying abandon your responsibility. No, that's not what I'm saying. We do not do reckless. We do not do childish. We don't do escape. We don't do blame. We lead. We confront. We press forward. But leadership means asking, where is all these carrying taking me? Is this pressure producing maturity or just keeping me busy? Am I building something or only preventing collapse? Because if all your energy goes towards preventing collapse, eventually your life becomes one long emergency. And emergencies are not meant to become. So let me make it personal. Are you building a life or just trying to afford one? Are you leading your money or just reacting to it? Are you leading your schedule or just surviving it? Are you making decisions or just paying consequences? Are you building vision or just covering responsibilities? Are you living or only maintaining? When was the last time you did something that reminded you your life is more than bills? When was the last time you had a conversation that fit your purpose? When was the last time you looked at your numbers honestly instead of letting anxiety keep them blurry? When was the last time you made a plan instead of making another excuse? When was the last time you asked, what am I becoming inside this pressure? Not what do I owe, not what is due, not what is broken, not what needs to be handled, but what am I becoming? Because pressure does not just affect your wallet, pressure affects your identity. It affects your patience, your marriage, your parenting, your health, your faith, your confidence, your ability to dream, your ability to rest, your ability to hear God, your ability to be present in the moment. And if you never ask what survival is doing to you, you may keep affording a life while losing the person who was supposed to live it. That is the mirror. Here's one of the most dangerous phrases people live by. when I get caught up. When I get caught up, I will rest. When I get caught up, I'll start training. When I get caught up, I'll spend more time with my family and loved ones. When when I get caught up, I'll work on that dream. When I get caught up, I will pray like I need to. When I get caught up, I'll get healthy. When I get caught up, I'll finally breathe. But what if caught up keeps moving? What if every time you get close, something else appears? What if the next bill comes, the next repair comes, the next responsibility comes, the next emergency comes, the next unexpected thing shows up? What if caught up is not a place you arrive, but a line that keeps running from you that you never get to catch? Then you have to make a decision. You either keep postponing life until everything is perfect, or you start building rhythm inside imperfection. You start living with stewardship inside pressure. You stop waiting for the perfect condition to become faithful. Because if you only move when life is easy, life will lead you every time it gets hard. And the world can get loud, but it does not get to lead you, not even through survival. Here is the hard line. Survival can make purpose feel selfish. That is what it does when pressure gets heavy. Anything beyond maintenance starts feeling irresponsible. Dreaming feels irresponsible. Rest feels irresponsible. Training feels irresponsible. Reading feels irresponsible. Building something new feels irresponsible. Taking care of your body feels irresponsible. Investing in your own growth feels irresponsible. Saying no feels irresponsible. And before you know it, you start treating your own becoming like a luxury you cannot afford. That is how purpose gets buried. Not always by laziness, sometimes by responsibility with no boundaries, sometimes by bills with no plan, sometimes by pressure with no leadership, sometimes by trying to be everything for everybody until there is nothing left for what God put inside you. And I need you to hear this. Your purpose is not extra. Your health is not extra. Your faith is not extra. Your family is not extra. Your growth is not extra. Your calling is not extra. Those are not decorations you add after survival is handled. Those are part of life you are responsible to steward. If survival forces you to liquidate your own soul to keep the lights on, then survival has become a false king. And false kings have to be Scripture talks about stewardship, not panic. Stewardship. That matters. Because stewardship does not deny responsibility, it organizes it. Stewardship does not pretend pressure isn't real, it brings order inside pressure. Stewardship does not say, I have no bills. It says, I will not let bills become my God. Stewardship does not say, I have no fear. It says, fear will not be my financial advisor. Pressure. Stewardship does not say, I have no pressure. It says, pressure will not be the Lord of my decisions. And some of you need to return to stewardship, not shame, not panic, not avoidance, stewardship. Because God did not call you to be careless, but He also did not call you to disappear into maintenance. You are not just here to keep things from falling apart. You are here to build, to serve, to lead, to grow, to confront, to become, to steward what is in your hands without losing sight of what is in your spirit. That is balance. That is work. That is sovereignty. So, what do? We do not blame pressure. We do not deny the bills. We do not romanticize struggle. We do not act irresponsible. We take authority. Here's the move: tell the truth about numbers. Stop letting vogue fear lead you. Write it down. What comes in? What goes out? What keeps draining you? What is actually necessary? And what is just an emotional purchase to numb the stress? What are you avoiding? What are you pretending not to see? Because blur numbers create loud anxiety, and loud anxiety leads people. Clarity may not fix everything immediately, but it gives leadership a place to stand. Let's separate survival from identity. Say it clear. This is pressure. This is not my whole life. This is a season. This is not my name. This is responsibility. This is not my identity. This is something I must steward. This is not something I must worship. You need language like that. Because if you do not separate survival from identity, you will start calling pressure me. And pressure is not you. Your current circumstances do not define you. It is something you are walking through, something you are leading, something you are learning from, something you are organizing. But it is not allowed to become the whole definition of your life. Put one piece of life back on the calendar, not a fantasy, not a vacation you cannot afford, not something dramatic, one piece of life. Maybe a walk, a workout, a meal with someone you love and care about, a prayer block, a budget night, a conversation, a creative hour, a quiet morning, a date with your spouse or loved ones, time with your children without the phone, something that says, I'm still here. My life is more than maintenance. I can steward pressure without surrendering presence. Because if you wait for life to feel spacious before you start living, you're going to be waiting a long time. You may keep postponing the very thing that would give you strength. Here is your 24-hour pressure test. In the next 24 hours, write down 3 things. Number 1, what comes in? Number 2, what goes out? Number 3, what keeps draining you? No drama, no shame, no pretending, just truth. Then write down one thing your life still needs besides survival. One thing, not 10. One. Maybe peace, maybe it's health, maybe structure, maybe rest, maybe you need prayer, maybe a conversation, maybe it's just a plan, maybe time with your family, maybe a small step towards that dream. Then schedule it. Not someday, not when things calm down. Put it somewhere real because legacy builders do not wait for pressure to disappear. They learn how to lead inside it. Legacy builders, this is your checkpoint. Has survival become your identity? Have you been so busy affording life that you have stopped building one? Have you been so focused on what is due that you forgot what is still possible? Have you been calling it responsibility when part of it has become avoidance? Have you been waiting to get caught up while your life keeps passing you by? Have you let pressure sit on the throne? And where do you need to take authority back? Not with fantasy, with stewardship, not with blame, with clarity, not with shame, with movement. Because pressure is real, but pressure is not. Before we close, if this episode found you in survival mode, don't just nod your head and disappear. If you are listening to this on a web browser or a link someone texted you, don't let this be a temporary visit. Hit follow right now on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Legacy builders do not just visit truth, they stay connected to it. And if this message made you think of someone who has been trying to afford life, but slowly losing themselves inside it, send it to them. No long explanation. Just send it and say, hey, listen to this one. And Thursdays, make sure you catch us. Different rhythm, same truth. Don't miss it. Let's lock this in. You are not here just to afford life. You are here to build one. Survival can be necessary, but it cannot become your identity. Responsibility without direction becomes a golden cage. When I get caught up can become a lie. Survival can make purpose feel selfish. But purpose is not extra. Health is not extra. Faith is not extra. Family is not extra. Growth is not extra. Your life is not extra. So tell the truth about the numbers. Separate survival from identity and put one piece of your life back on the calendar today because you were built to steward responsibility. There are things in this season we're going to keep confronting, not because we're trying to escape responsibility, because we refuse to be ruled by it. The world may get expensive, the pressure may get heavy, the bills may keep coming, the responsibilities may keep knocking. But legacy builders, we do not blame pressure. We do not worship pressure. We do not let survival become a king. We steward, we lead, we confront, we organize, we build, we take the wheel back. So this week, look at the numbers, name the pressure, refuse the excuse, own the response, make the move. And remember this, if all you do is afford the life but never build the life, eventually you may pay for everything and still feel like you lost yourself. That cannot be your story. The world can get loud, life can get expensive, pressure can get real, but it does not get to lead you. This is the Eminence Legacy Podcast. I'm Jose Luis Cadena, and remember, together, let's rise to your eminence. Pay the bills, just don't let them buy your soul. Wake up